If you've been to the mall recently, I'm sure you've noticed that everyone is coming down with holiday fever. The lines are more tangled than a box of Christmas lights, and there's no such thing as a quick trip. Luckily, 1-800-Flowers.com makes finding the perfect gift a joyous occasion. Skipping lines and hitting 1-800-Flowers is my holiday answer. And right now, 1-800-Flowers is giving my listeners a special 24 for 24 offer. 24 holiday lights roses for $24. It's only $1 a rose. 24 holiday light roses are the perfect way to give a holiday surprise to that special person on your list. These beautiful bouquets of 24 roses in a rush of Christmas light tones will leave your loved ones stunned without spending a fortune. It's the best of both worlds. Holiday roses at an unbeatable price. These gorgeous roses from 1-800-Flowers are picked at their peak and shipped overnight to ensure freshness. 24 holiday lights roses for only $24. Unreal deal, but it expires Wednesday. When it comes to meaningful holiday moments, trust in the quality bouquets of 1-800-Flowers.com. To order 24 holiday lights roses for only $24, go to 1-800-Flowers.com/Wingo. That's 1-800-Flowers.com/Wingo. Hurry, though. Offer ends Wednesday, so get yours now.
Hey, my name's Jack. I'm the founder and former editor-in-chief of Crack.com and the host of the new How Stuff Works comedic news and pop culture podcast, The Daily Zeitgeist. Our goal is to tell you about the ideas that are out there changing the world. We talk politics and news, but we also cover supermarket tabloids, which might seem stupid, but millions of people pass those every day, and they absorb the ideas on the cover whether they want to or not. We also take movies pretty seriously because when we picture something that we haven't experienced, you generally use movies. You probably picture Terminator 2 when picturing a nuclear explosion, even though that's not actually what they'd look like. Anyways, we're trying to take the temperature of what's affecting the national shared consciousness, which sounds a little more hippie-ish than we actually are. But fair warning, guys, some of the content can get a little edgy, so not for young ears, but trust us, it's all in good fun. So go to Apple Podcasts and listen and subscribe to The Daily Zeitgeist. It's very good, is our catchphrase. We're kind of workshopping it.
Rolling into hour 2 on a Monday morning on Golic and Wingo. Glad you're here with us. Trey Wingo, Mike Golic Jr., presented by Progressive Insurance on ESPN Radio and ESPN2. And all phone guests join us on the Shell Pennzoil Performance Line. A lot of talk that first hour about the college football playoff rankings. We'll get back to that a little bit later. But, Mike, you had one tweet you wanted to get out here,
Yeah,
right?
one tweet. We are going to get back into the college. Jake says, who did Alabama beat? What a joke it is. It's a popularity contest just like the BCS was. So that's just wrong. The BCS, remember, was computers.
Exactly.
That's anything but a popularity contest. That is all computers and one human poll. So that's the complete opposite of a popularity contest. And I'll give you some stats in about 10 or 12 minutes from the old BCS rankings that may blow your mind a little bit about who would be in the Final Fours.
Absolutely. We'll get into that a lot a little bit later, but there is a ton to get into in the NFL. And just one thing that was sort of lost in the shuffle with everything else that happened, and it took me a while to realize it, Sunday was the first time in 7,288 days that there wasn't a quarterback with the last name of Manning starting in the NFL.
Wow.
Because of the benching of Eli Manning in favor of Geno Smith when the Giants went to Oakland to take on the Raiders, a game they lost, it was the first time since Week 17 of the 1997 season that either Peyton or Eli weren't starting in a game. It's ridiculous.
And it's a shame it ended on such a ridiculous scenario that it did, that which now it looks like may cost, maybe even today, Ben McAdoo his job. It just the way they botched it, the way the mayors are coming out now and saying, John Mayer saying, I wish I would have been there, or that we'd have handled it differently. So there's a whole lot of pointing going on right now on other people and how this thing went down. Regardless, it was a horrible move. The Giants lose again. Geno, I mean, he did fine. He threw for over 200 yards, 21 of 34.
Two lost fumbles were the big issues there, one in the red zone.
Exactly right.
But that's who he is.
He's not the quarterback of the future of the Giants. So, and Davis Webb, who you're like, if you're going to do this, you say, okay, let's get a look at him. He was inactive. So it just all around was just a ridiculous decision to do and how they went about doing it. And now it just seems like you need to burn the thing down.
Yeah, that seems to be the only, I'd say, outcome in this that makes any sense. Because football-wise, all of these decisions, are interesting, but it's the lack of decisive leadership that's really the glaring error in all of this. And that's the Maras coming out and saying, we wish we'd have been more involved. Like, it's your job to be involved and around for these decisions to happen. Ben McAdoo obviously has grossly mismanaged a lot of things coming out around all of this, but top to bottom, the inconsistency, the way too transparent nature of this, and ultimately them undermining themselves has been embarrassing for a franchise that you expect to be better.
And again, according to Chris Mortensen and Adam Schefter, that firing of Ben McAdoo, which the Giants hardly ever do anything like that in season, could come as early as today. But you almost get the feeling, guys, they're doing that to sort of see if they can distract us from what you just talked about, how poorly this was handled with the Eli Manning situation. Look, if you want to look to the future, that's fine. That's understandable. He is going to be 37 in January. He is in his 14th season. But the way this sort of thing was propped up, they wanted him to go out and be the show pony to keep his streak alive. We had Steve Young on NFL Live, and he said, I would have told him to stick it if they wanted me to do that. And don't say you didn't know, because there's no way Ben McAdoo, who was on a short rope anyway, there's no way he did this on his own. He wasn't just going to say, hey, guys, just so you know, I'm going to do this, and I hope you're okay with it. That's not the way it works.
And Mike, I heard you play it on your show. Just where we are in this situation, and you knew he was going to be asked it, but how Eli handled being the backup, and there was a breakdown of Eli as the number 2 quarterback by Ben McAdoo. It was just ridiculous.
Did a great job on the bench. He communicated well. His posture was exemplary. He did a great job with the one earbud in, making it look pretty cool.
Sturdily holding that clipboard with firm, resolute.
Davis Webb can learn a lot from him in this realm.
Yeah. That's so true. Absolutely so true. So that was an absolute mess. And listen, if they're going to get rid of Ben McAdoo before the season's over, then just do it, right? I mean, don't waste any time. If you're going to make that decision, there's no need to hang on anymore to just get it done. So you're either going to let him ride out the season or, get it over with now and just be done with it.
All right, we'll see how that shakes out. Again, reports from both our Chris Mortensen and Adam Schefter that the firing of Ben McAdoo could come as early as today. That's going to be the story, obviously, in New York, and we'll see how that plays out. Guys, I tell you, the Patriots won their 8th game in a row yesterday over a Buffalo team that was forced to go to the backup quarterback Nathan Peterman after Tyrod Taylor got his knee hurt, in a game in which the defense played very well. But as much as it gave the Patriots an 8th straight win, there was an issue on the field where late in that game, Tre'Davious White, the Bills' corner, who was one of the best picks in the draft last year, cornerback out of LSU, was picked off the ball, and after he had laid down on the ground and been out of bounds and been touched out of bounds, Gronk came over and delivered a forearm shiver to the back of his head that left Tre'Davious White with a concussion. Both the Patriots, Bill Belichick, after the game, I don't know if you saw the clip, there was a local TV camera from Buffalo or maybe Rochester caught him saying it was a BS play to Sean McDermott, basically apologizing, and this is what Gronk had to say about it after the game.
First off, I definitely want to apologize to number 27. I mean, I'm not in the business of that. I mean, it was a lot of frustration, and I was just really frustrated at that moment. It just happened naturally through emotions and frustration, and just want to apologize to Tre'Davious White. I don't really believe in type of shots like that, but just through the frustration process, game of football, emotions, just that's what happened.
All right, there's a lot to get into there. But look, that has to be – it's going to be a fine and a sizable one. And I would be shocked if it wasn't a suspendable offense.
Oh, I think it'll be suspended. And, again, if it's one game, maybe the appeal gets him out. If it's 2 games, it can knock down to 1. But I think in the beginning he'll definitely be suspended. This isn't an NFL now where they are going to lean more toward the safety than anything else. And that's fine. There are times, as I said, I think it goes too far with some of the calls. But for something like this – I think it was obviously a monster mistake he wasn't thrown out of the game. There have been 13 players ejected from games this year. That was one of the more blatant, dirty things we've seen. How he didn't get ejected right then and there, I have no idea. But I don't think there's any doubt he'll be fined and suspended. Mike, listen, we spent a lot of time on the field. We get frustrated. We all want to swing. We all want to do stuff. Aqib Talib and Crabtree swinging like they're in a boxing ring and knowing they're going to get thrown out of the game and then they get suspended for a game. Gronk, just his emotion got the best of him, and it does happen. But you got to find a way to keep it in check. He knows that now, but he lost his control. This was bad. and he got the flag. He'll get fined. He'll get suspended. No excuse for it at all. But I was really stunned he wasn't tossed at the time.
Man, I tell you what, at least like Talib and Crabtree were squared up. Like those two guys were face to face, and you knew what they were getting into.
This was cheap.
This dude was on the ground, face down, getting a shoulder full of Gronk well after the play. This is an embarrassment on his part. It's something you can clearly see the contrition for. But there's no excuse for it in the moment. This is an easy win for the NFL because you come down on this one hard.
Well, that's the thing. I mean, Gronk is always. Hey, look at him. He's funny.
He's a fun guy. It's Gronk. It's Chuck. It's Barkley. It's Gronk.
Exactly.
They're both they're in that area, but there are some things you just can't laugh about. This is one of them.
Yeah, look, that was a deliberate attempt to hurt somebody with a guy who was down on the ground. And look, I understand on some level Gronk's frustration because Gronk is kind of like Cam Newton. Oh, he's a big, stronger guy, so we don't call all the hits to the head that he gets. And I understand that. And even on that play, on the interception, you could see that there was some tugging, and that had been going on all game. You just can't do that.
You can't.
The ends does not justify the means.
In the longer soundbite, he even said, listen, they're calling me for stuff that I think that is crazy, and he's not getting any calls. He talked about the frustration level, and I get it. You're right. He is in that realm of a Cam where he's not going to get the call.
It's a hack-a-shack.
And it has to be unbelievably frustrating, but it can't get to the point where you do that. Because I didn't even think about it that way, Mike, because I went in hard on Aqib Talib and Michael Crabtree, knowing that they were going to get tossed and then suspended and just blatant disregard and doing it anyway. But you're right. At least they were squared up, man. This is one of those. You saw White's head. He was on his stomach. His head goes smashed into the ground. I mean, it was just a dirty, cheap shot that Gronk's not known for.
No.
Gronk would be a first-time offender, and listen, if this was Vontaze Burfict, he'd be out for half a year.
Games,
I mean, he'd be out for multiple games.
And that's important context.
It absolutely
should be important context.
So that's why I only think it'll be a game or two at the most. I would think probably just a game because he's a first-time offender. But to your point again, Mike, if this is an easy win for the NFL, you got to come down hard on this and then just let them appeal.
Because that's one of those things, and you know this as well as anyone. I mean, you played on a defense that loved to flirt with the line a little bit as far as what was clean and not. But there was always kind of an understanding in that NFL brotherhood that we always hear touted that the things that are really across the line. And this seems like a pretty clear and decisive example. The thing that shocks me most about this is no one on the Bills fought him after that.
Me too. I only saw one guy go after him after a few seconds, but I saw another guy standing there just doing to the ref, throw the flag, that nobody was in Gronk's grill on that one. I agree with you. I was a little surprised at that as well.
Again, we'll see if we get an announcement. Usually it comes a couple of days after when that decision comes down from the NFL. We'll see what happens. Again, Gronk and the Patriots supposed to play at Miami next Monday night. I would say the odds are slim that he might be on the field for that Monday night game.
I think I would agree with that.
Coming up. Golic and Wingo on ESPN Radio and ESPN2. Subscribe right now to the 30 for 30 podcast in the Listen tab of the ESPN app or Apple Podcasts, brought to you by ZipRecruiter, the smartest way to hire. Try it for free by going to ZipRecruiter.com/30. There was a lot of interesting things that happened in the NFL.
Yep.
One of them is that I have come to the conclusion that Alvin Kamara is not human. The Saints running back is not a human being. He's a bag full of jelly. It's it's impossible to tackle the guy. I actually believe he's a cephalopod. A cephalopod is a mollusk or a squid or an octopus. They just sort of are just all over you can't get a grab on him. It's unbelievable the things he's been able to do.
Yeah, listen, I agree. Between him and Ingram and what they're doing, as we said, the last time they had a running game like this, it's when they won the Super Bowl. So Drew Brees has to be happy. The defense playing incredibly well. But here's a guy, Mike, we talk about how Kareem Hunt hasn't been as effective, and we thought maybe hitting that rookie wall. He has way more carries than Kamara because Kamara has, Mark Ingram, and they are sharing the backfield, and it's showing, man, well, that may work that way. Others, well, you see Gurley, what he's doing at the Rams. He's the main guy, and it's going pretty well, but he's not a rookie like Kareem Hunt is, even though he hasn't been in the league a ton of time. But, boy, they seem to have a great tandem, 11 touchdowns, 7 rushing, 4 receiving. But you get him in the ball, just swinging out to him, a little 2-yard pass, and, man, he can turn it into something.
It is amazing, and as someone who has Mark Ingram on my fantasy team, you waited for the drop-off as Alvin Kamara was increasingly featured and really seems to be a fit in an offense that wants to screen, that wants to use the back out of the backfield as a pass catcher and do all these things that Alvin Kamara does really well. You waited for the drop-off in production for Mark Ingram, and it's not coming.
Right.
Like, they are able to find plenty of ways to use both of these guys really effectively. And to your point about Kareem Hunt, it's amazing. And Kareem Hunt is certainly another guy that was, picked down further in the draft. Where was Alvin Kamara picked, though? Because you see with the guys that aren't burdened with going in to have to save bad teams right away, how much you're able to thrive when you're in a competent offense that's already got a bunch of other playmakers.
Yeah, he was picked in the same round as Kareem Hunt.
Yeah,
third round. Yeah,
third round, pretty good for running backs. He was 67th overall. But it's interesting. You can tell Kareem Hunt and the Chiefs' offense in whole, except for yesterday's little aberration, have hit the wall. I mean, the whole thing has come apart. And if we weren't talking about Rob Gronkowski's meltdown, we would be talking about Marcus Peters' meltdown against
was
the
that
Jets.
Unbelievable? I thought he got thrown out of the game.
No, just the flag got thrown out of the game. We're into the stands.
For those that don't know, there's a penalty in the end zone against unbelievable. And please, I hope nobody's calling to bench Alex Smith again.
Yeah.
Okay, after the Chiefs lose to the Jets, when Alex Smith throws for 4 touchdowns and 368, he's not giving up 38 points. On the other side, there's a penalty in the end zone, a holding call in the end zone against the Kansas City Chiefs, and Peters picked up the flag and threw it into the stands. Great video of the fan taking selfies with the flag and
flag
stuff.
Selfie.
That was really, really cool. He threw it. He got a flag for throwing the flag into the stands, and then he left the field. I thought, did he get tossed? He didn't get tossed.
He went to go change his socks or something ridiculous.
Well, I think it looked like he came back with no socks on. I have no idea what was going on, but he just left the field, which is one of the most bizarre things I have seen. So I was somewhat stunned at that. Not a great look, quite honestly, but the Chiefs haven't been a great look for a little while right now.
Markedly funnier than what we had to deal with. Like, Gronk's very serious, very egregious. This one I can still laugh at because it's the flag. I mean, having to watch the referee then use his hat, which I know they sometimes use in the course of officiating, but using that hat to throw a penalty was incredible. Where were you when the hat got thrown as a flag? Like, we can always look back and remember that day now. For the Chiefs, just a kind of side note, you're really completely out on looking and seeing what Patrick Mahomes has got at this point?
Absolutely. There's no way.
Sure?
Without
Alex
question.
Smith's not going to be there next year.
I know that. But right now, they're still, shockingly enough, in the playoff hunt.
The Chargers in their division.
And Oakland are all 6-6. There is no way on God's green earth, if you're in a playoff hunt, that you're going to put a rookie in right now to get a look at him. Why would you do that?
They lose one more game and the rest of those teams jump over them. It's going to happen.
Well, that's fine now. You're asking me right now. If the season gets away and they're not going to make the playoffs, you can start making that argument to me. Right now, that's not the case. So there's no shot that happens.
Here's why you don't do it. Okay, first of all, he threw for 366 yards and 4 touchdowns and no interceptions. He also had a 70-yard run in that game.
Yeah.
And oh, by the way, their next two opponents are the Raiders and the Chargers. Now, if they lose those two games,
we have that conversation.
Then we have that conversation. Right. There is no way you're pulling the plug right now on Alex Smith. And by the way,
you would.
Right now, let's put it this way. Based on the other quarterback moves we've seen this season, that one would make the most sense.
No.
Oh,
you can't do that.
Can't
do that. Can't do that. You can't say, well, because they made bad decisions, let's follow down that path and make another bad decision.
No, I'm saying I'm using the path of logic that they use, which is let's get a look at what we got. You've at least got the guy that you traded up for in the first round, the guy you know is going to be your quarterback next season. If Alex Smith is on this roster, I think all of us will be very surprised.
I agree.
Come next year.
But what's the difference? They're in a playoff hunt. The other teams weren't in a playoff hunt.
Yeah, 2-8 is not 6-6.
Except for Buffalo, and we saw how that move worked out when they're 5-4 and they benched Tyrod Taylor. I mean, how would you feel if you're on the Chiefs?
Oh, listen, I'm not saying it would go over well as a player, but I'm saying organizationally, if they made that move and they said, listen, this is a team that we think could eke into the playoffs, but we're not winning a Super Bowl with this team. Why not get a look? Why not get started with the bridge program here? I get that's a tough decision to sell to your team. It's almost impossible to sell to your team.
Here's why. Anybody think the Giants would win when they went in 9-7?
No.
The year that they won the Super Bowl?
That's exactly right.
I just don't buy it.
You know why you don't do it?
You play to win the game.
And they have things to win and get into the playoffs.
What they're doing right now ain't winning anyway. So
I look on the defensive side there. Two quick notes, and I want to get to the couch thing.
Yep.
As far as New Orleans, a strong lead now, obviously in the South.
Well, they swept Carolina.
They swept Carolina, so they're 9-3, and Atlanta's 7-5. 2 of the next 3 weeks they play Atlanta. So this is really going to be it for the rubber meeting the road there. And then the other one, how about sweet revenge? How about the 49ers and the Bears?
Robbie Gould, baby.
Robbie Gould, the kicker for the 49ers, cut by the Bears, comes back as a 49er, kicks 5 field goals, one in the last seconds to beat his former team.
Look, to his credit, he said, it was the best thing that ever happened to me that the Bears cut me because it made me rededicate myself. He bounced around last year, was with the Giants for a while. Really happy for Robbie. Great guy. And that had to feel good.
Well, it did. And, Mike, I'm sure we can all empathize with re-emphasize and redirected kickers.
Yes, that's important.
Huge.
Hey, look, motivation comes in many forms.
Yes, it does.
All right, Golic and Wingo here. We're presented by Progressive Insurance and all phone guests on the Shell Pennzoil Performance Line. We have lots of firsts, by the way, in the college football. And first time we have two teams from the same conference in the playoff. Yeah. But you have some other interesting numbers here.
I do. So a lot of you people that hate this committee, the human element of this, and because it doesn't seem they seem to be arbitrary in their decision making or change it. The old BCS system, the one that you guys, Mike, when you and Jake were seniors at Notre Dame, you guys were number one in the country at the end of that year and played Alabama. The BCS put you 1 and 2. But remember, just like this ranks the top 25. This college class, the BCS ranked a top 25, but it was just the top 2 that went to the to the championship game. So I went back and looked at the top 4 teams. So if there was a 4-team playoff and the BCS picked it, which means, again, computers, all computers, so there's no trying to influence a computer, right? The computer's just picking. There was one human poll, the Harris poll, and all computers.
Right.
So if you go back and look at all those rankings and go to 4 instead of 2, if they did the playoff system then, and I went back to 2002. It started in 99. I went to 2002. And that was the year Miami and Ohio State played in the title game, which was a fantastic game. But so that's 12 years, 2002 to it ended in 2013. So that's 12 years. Of those 12 years, how many times do you think in the top 4 there were 2 teams from the BCS that were in the same conference?
Out of 12 years?
12 years.
I'm going to say 6.
I'll go 4.
7 times. 7 times. And the last one was 2013. That was the last year of the BCS. Right. The top 4 were Florida State, Auburn, Alabama, Michigan State. It happened in 2013. It happened in 2011, 2010, 6, 5, 4, and 2002. That 2 teams from the same conference picked by computers made it to the Final Four. So, and as we said, if you put this year's Final Four back to the old BCS system, it would spit out the exact same 4. I don't know what that tells us, but I mean, so what are we complaining about? Is it still just a matter of if your team doesn't get in, you're complaining?
I know why we're complaining. It's because what we do these days. I mean, that's what Twitter is. It's a venting forum. I mean, we can do all this kind of stuff and you can say this and that, but what you're saying is we would have gotten to the same conclusion no matter what. We would have gotten to the same conclusion no matter what system we tried to use.
Is there a perfect system in your eyes?
No. No system is perfect. We sit and argue about the March Madness, that one tournament that we exalt above all else, picks their teams the same way. The committee borrowed their model from the committee that picks the teams for the tournament, and we still argue about bubble teams all the way through, and we still argue about seeding every year, but then we choose to exalt it as the tournament by which all others should be judged. Like, no, you don't get to have it both ways. And I'd be very interested, who made up the criteria for this selection committee? Was it the people at the head of the conferences who looked at that BCS and said, you know what, we've had someone that works by a specific formula. We want to loosen it up a little bit so we can account for some extenuating circumstances. But now it goes against you, so it's the bad guy? Nah.
Well, look, I hear what you're saying about the NCAA tournament, but obviously those bubble teams getting in there's much less consequence than that to getting into the Final Four and have a chance to win it all. Because those final teams in the NCAA tournament, unless you're George Mason that one year, probably not going to get around to the Final Four anyway.
But still talk about it with seeding-wise. I hear our experts complain every year about the seeding and how it robs certain teams of opportunity.
This is what we do. This is what we do.
But that's what I mean. No system is ever going to be enough. There is always going to be some group or some person that feels jilted by it, and we just get used to it.
And we just like to argue. That's what it is more than anything.
Hey everyone, Mike Golic here. Support for the Mike and Mike podcast comes from our friends at Rocket Mortgage by Quicken Loans. Chances are you're confident when it comes to your work, your hobbies, your life. Rocket Mortgage gives you that same level of confidence when it comes to buying a home or refinancing your existing home loan. Rocket Mortgage is simple, allowing you to fully understand all the details and be confident you're getting the right mortgage for you. To get started, go to rocketmortgage.com/Mikes. Equal housing lender, licensed in all 50 states, NMLS, consumeraccess.org number 3030.
Computer, execute 12.4p operation.
Optimizing algorithm. Running encryption packet alpha. Night. Oh, I don't feel so good.
What is it, computer?
Is it hot in here? It feels hot in here. I feel a little clammy. I should lie down or something.
A computer with a virus? Surprising. What's not surprising? How much you could save by switching to Geico.
Those oysters Rockefeller were a mistake.
Geico. 15 minutes could save you 15% or more.
Rolling in on Golic and Wingo as we cruise our way through hour number 2. Trey Wingo, Mike Golic, and we are delighted to be joined once again by Jefe. Jeff Saturday joins us.
You know it, baby.
Okay, Jeff, lots to get to in the NFL, but we just played sound of Ben McAdoo praising Eli Manning's job of being a great number 2 quarterback on the bench, being there for Eli when he needed it, holding that clipboard with authority, and talking with stern tones in his language when he was chatting with Geno Smith. How critical is that to make sure your number 2 is solid when he's on the bench?
Yeah, we used to do that every week with Sorgi and Painter with Peyton, and just go through their performance of making sure they had 18 ready to play. Give Sorgi and Painter all the credit in the world, just like he did Eli. Great comments by McAdoo. Way to keep the circus rolling, baby. Way to keep it going.
Do they need to just the reports by our Adam Schefter and Chris Mortensen that Ben McAdoo may be fired as early as today? I guess my thought is, if you're going to get rid of the guy, man, just do it, right? I mean, I
think this might be the greatest slow play by Mara in history. And, the whole Giants organization, this guy has taken all the darts.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? They literally have him. He is a body shield right now. So the more things he says like this about Eli, it's just taking more and more off. And listen, we all know that decision didn't come in a vacuum. He didn't say, I'm going to bench Eli by himself. Reese knew it. Mara knew it. Everybody in the organization knew it. But he's going to be the guy that takes every shot because he was willing to go out there and do this. So in my opinion, I'm going to keep him around until he doesn't take any more shots. Then we can go ahead and fire him. Because right now he's playing to the crowd beautifully for Mara and the whole organization. Just be the guy, right? Yeah. Just be that guy.
Just don't think that's going to be playing that much longer.
No, I'm with you. This afternoon, key card will be deactivated.
Jeff Saturday with us in studio giving us the Straight Talk, and that is Straight Talk, brought to you by Straight Talk Wireless. Best phones, best networks, no contracts. Okay, so let's take that situation out. Looking at Week 13 Sunday in the NFL, the most impressive or important thing you saw was what?
Vikings defense against the Falcons. Wow. Just wow. I mean, you think about Julio the week before, 250-plus yards. He's going lights out. Rhodes goes on him, 2 catches. Give Zimmer a ton of credit the way he runs that defense. At all 3 levels, they can flat-out play. But they were up and ready to rock and play just a magnificent game. All over the field, I was impressed. You just watch that style of game, and that's the way the Vikings are going to have to win. Case Keenum was not a game manager.
Right.
Played lights out, put the ball where it needed to be. I was just so impressed, though, by that Vikings defense going into Atlanta, 9 points, just the whole deal. And that's a huge game. Think about the Falcons a couple weeks ago, go into Seattle and win. So it's a big deal for the Vikings to get those kinds of wins and keep that NFC kind of at bay. But I was very impressed.
Well, I mean, you're talking about Minnesota and Philadelphia now fighting for they're almost past winning the division.
Yeah.
It's home field now.
Absolutely.
How much can we have the road to the Super Bowl run through our place? And that's what Minnesota put themselves in with Philadelphia's loss last night to Seattle. So I'm with you. Case Keenum, just 5 incompletions yesterday.
13 of 13 in the second half.
Second half. Yes. And incredible. Miss. So 2 touchdowns, no interceptions. This guy is playing money ball. When I say money ball, he's going to get money because of all this, whether it's going to be in Minnesota or somewhere else. But I'm with you. The defense keeps him in every single game, and now battling Philly for that top spot in the NFC.
And I'll say this about Keenum. The best part about having a defense like that is Keenum's just playing within himself.
Right.
He's not trying to do anything, and he'll make the kind of electric plays every now and again. We see him duck a guy. We laughed about it. Duck a wrench. You can duck him. He ducks guys and makes a play to Thielen. He does those things a couple weeks ago. But when he's not having to do that, he's just playing within himself. I mean, the route to Rudolph in the end zone, he just puts the ball right there, and it's a thing of beauty. He threw to 9 different receivers, so it's not like he's zoning in on one guy. He's just letting the progression kind of take care of itself, and it's been pretty to watch.
It has, and he'll join us in the last half hour of the show today. Case Keenum will join us here on Golic and Wingo. And it is amazing. No matter what he does, he's our starter next week.
Right? I know.
It's amazing.
Warm up Bridgewater. What?
It's kind of ridiculous. I mean, he plays so well when the conflict is around him in the pocket, and we'll get into that with him a little bit later. But the Vikings are the only team in the NFL that are top 5 offense and defense.
Yep.
Are they, in your opinion, the best balanced team in the NFC.
Absolutely. Yeah. I think, you saw, the Eagles are a great football team as well. They didn't play great last night.
Right.
But as you're looking at them, and I will say on their side, I think they are more dominant as a whole defensively because at all three levels, it's not just about them getting sacks, not pressure. And on the back end, they can truly play Rhodes on number one. Newman, who, again, is 65 years old and still getting better. Yeah. The two safeties can do it. They can bring them down the box and make plays. So as you're talking about teams, a defense that will keep you in games and help you win games, I still go Minnesota.
Listen, I've been talking about Philly being the most complete team, but being top 5 in offensive defense, tough to beat.
Absolutely.
It's really tough to beat to not think that this isn't the most balanced team in the NFL.
Well, the other thing, too, you talked about the Vikings and the Eagles with that loss. Look, the Eagles got to go to the Rams next week.
Right.
So let's say the Rams suddenly beat the Eagles. Now they're both 10-3, and you have Minnesota. Who does Minnesota have next week? I don't have the schedule up in front of me. They go to 11-2 if they get. Then it really gets to be a 3-team race because the tiebreaker the Rams would have over the Eagles.
They're at Carolina next week. Yeah.
Okay, that's going to be a very difficult game as well.
That's a battle.
And that's a game now that Carolina has to have because they're squarely in the wild card hunt, I believe, right now.
They are, right.
For the NFC South because they've lost both games to the Saints.
The only team I think that can battle now the Saints is Atlanta. They're 2 games behind, and they got 2 games in the next 3 weeks with them, so that's it right there.
Yeah, so that's the interesting thing there. Your thoughts on what we saw with Rob Gronkowski up in Buffalo?
Yeah, cheap shot, man. I mean, you could tell he lost his mind. You see him. It reminded me of when you used to play backyard ball, right? And somebody pegged you with the ball. All of a sudden you get up and you're going to go find him, right? I mean, it was that you saw it literally as he gets tackled and the guy makes the pick and he gets up. He's headhunting at this point, right? And it's a cheap shot. I don't think he intentionally gave him a concussion. I don't think he was trying, but it's as cheap as it gets. And he owned it. He apologized to it, but you're going to see the league is going to fine him heavily, probably suspend him. The appeal, who knows? He doesn't have any previous infractions, so that will go his way. But it's here's the big the larger issue is we've had too much of this throughout the season,
right?
And
AJ Green and Jalen Ramsey, Mike Evans, and against Marshawn Lattimore,
right? You had Talib and this whole big deal, the other day, and it's just it's getting we're talking about viewership in the NFL and what people want to see. We can't have it, right? And we always talk about player health and safety, and that's the largest part of this, in my opinion, is we all make a living doing this, right? Like, at the end of the day, we could all be teammates next year. You have no idea what's going to happen in your future. You don't ever want to go after guys that way. I think he knows that. He tried to make the apology, but he literally lost his mind. I mean, he just made a very bad decision, and now you got to pay the consequences.
He did. And as my son Mike said just a little bit ago about what you just said as well, is players understand what you do and can do to one another. You saw when Evans flew about half the field and hit Lattimore in the back. I mean, those are just things that, as a player amongst player, you just say, okay, there's a line, gang.
Absolutely.
The old unwritten rule thing, or the line that you don't cross of going after someone's knees, or a cheap shot like that, or what you saw at a Gronk that just crosses that player line.
And you always talk about you handle stuff like that between the whistles, right? Not after the whistle, right? It's not like he's not going to match up with you again. So the next time you go, you know what I mean? When you block him or whatever, you try to kind of, if there's a word that for better or worse, exact revenge during the play. You don't go try to hunt the dude down afterwards or in the locker room. All the nonsense that's going on, this extracurricular, cut it out, man. Like, it ain't helping any of us.
Right, it isn't. And you know what else isn't helping? The Kansas City Chiefs aren't helping themselves. After a 5-0 start, they're 1-6. Someone's got to win the West. We don't know who it is.
Wow.
We'll ask Jeff that.
Quick note as we finish up here with Jeff Saturday. Today is National Cookie Day.
Delicious day.
So we will have a tray of cookies out here, and we will be sampling different cookies and going through the rest of the show as what is your favorite cookie?
Was that intentional that I didn't? There weren't cookies out here.
Yeah, we don't want you to have it.
You're transitioning, to a future model.
That's exactly right.
You're going down the Mark Schlereth path. You're trying. Anyway.
That's exactly right. If you had what's your favorite cookie? Do you have a favorite cookie?
I would say probably Thin Mint. I love a good Thin
Cold
Mint.
With milk.
Yeah.
Oh my word. Good call.
Yeah.
Rock solid.
Good call.
What about you? Do you have a favorite cookie? Are you for like the guys from Office Space? You celebrate the entire collection?
Man, the entire catalog. I go with the entire catalog. Absolutely right. Yeah. I'll hone it down to my top 3 though.
Hard to beat an Oreo though.
That's exactly.
The simplicity.
Here's the thing.
The simplicity of it.
They need to get who thought of the idea of the thins, the Oreo thins.
Yeah,
please, just stop it.
Yeah.
There should be only double or more, and everything else should be done. That's exactly right.
Yeah.
That's exactly right. The thins.
Well, speaking of thin, we've seen a thin margin of error lately for the Kansas City Chiefs, 5-0 to 1-6, and now you look at that division. It's the Chiefs, the Chargers, and the Raiders all there,
all locked in,
all there. And who's winning that? Who's winning that division?
Chargers.
I think so too.
Chargers.
It's unbelievable.
I said a few weeks ago, listen, that's the team. They had 2 bad beats early in the season. They should be in a completely different category at this point.
You're right.
But Phillip Rivers, you got Bosa and Ingram on the edges on a defense. They can get after you. Their defensive backfield, Hayward's playing good. They can play man. They can zone you. I mean, they're a good football team, and you're looking at them and the way the Chiefs are playing. And listen, yesterday was self-destruction at its best. I mean, everybody wants to talk about Alex Smith. I may mention there's no reason to talk about Alex Smith right now. There's so many issues.
There's no reason to talk about changing
him, right? Yeah, for the Mahomes thing and all that. As you're looking at this football team, defensively, they have not done a great job stopping the run. Yesterday, you saw what happened. They made McCown look like an MVP candidate.
Yeah.
I mean, dude threw all over them, and you're going to blame the offense. 31 points. And again, are they running the ball great? No. Do they have their own issues? But the penalties late, that's self-destruction. That's an undisciplined football team. You're not going to win many, especially as you get down to the latter part of the season.
So Kansas City already has a win over the Chargers in L.A. as well.
That was week 2 or 3 of the season.
It was week 3, but they got the win over them in the Chargers' place. Their next 2 games for the Chargers are home against Oakland, home against the Chargers. So obviously we're gonna be able to tell a whole lot from that. Chargers definitely playing better right now, but as Andy Reid is going to tell them, and you know what's going to go in that locker room, is forget everything.
Yeah.
Let's just go from here forward. We can still control our own destiny if we take care of business.
We're 0-0.
Right?
You and I both heard that. How many times have you heard that?
Oh, my gosh.
I mean, every coach has that cliche down perfectly. Man, it's like we haven't even played a game. We're 0-0. Let's go take care of our business.
And it works here. Let's forget the last 7 games, which are horrible.
Well, that's my point. As parts of your body are literally hanging by a thread.
Right.
When you hear the coach say we're 0-0, you're like, really? Because my shoulder sure doesn't feel like
Let's
it's 0-0.
Let's not restart, Coach.
Yeah.
Let's not restart.
Holy smokes, yeah.
Oh.
But do you have faith in anybody, though? I mean, I think the Chargers are playing better and they're on a better – but do you really deep down – like, for example – if these are all close, Kansas City's on their 70. I mean, LA's on their 37th kicker. I believe this year,
gosh.
right?
That's so true.
And Coons missed a chippy early. I mean, do you really believe that if push comes to shove, the Chargers, who have done great things, but they have found unique and horrifying ways to lose games over the last year and a half. Will that just stop when the division's on the line?
I feel like they are finding their way. They're running the ball better. They're more effective. And here's the deal. I'll be honest with you. I'm pulling for Phillip Rivers. I love that dude. Right. I just you hate to watch how many ways that guy has found to lose.
It's crazy.
It's awful, man. So from my perspective, I've been riding with them the last couple of weeks. I'm gonna keep riding with them. They're gonna stay positive. LA in the StubHub.
And I tell you what, I love his tricked out van that he uses to make that long drive to watch tape and stuff like that. How about this team? I remember we talked about Buffalo early on, thinking, could this be a team that makes a run? How about Baltimore?
Yeah.
What do we think about the Baltimore? The defense playing
44 to 20.
The offense is putting up that many points. I get, but that offense is not a juggernaut. We know that it's led by their defense. Do we start to say, and they'll get in as a wild card if they're going to get in,
right?
But do we start to say, I wonder what this team could do at all?
It's a great point because they're one of those teams. They're similar to the Chargers a little bit, right? Like they'll have games where they just lose horribly, and you don't know what happens. You don't know why they play as poorly as they do. All of a sudden it will show up and it's just an egg, right? But you look at Flacco and maybe the injuries early and him coming back from that injury really did affect him. Maybe he's beginning to play his way into shape. This offense is beginning to kind of catch some footing here and moving. The defense, I've said all year, is legitimate. Losing Jimmy Smith yesterday, though, I think may come back to hurt them as they progress. He is a lights-out player. Toward the Achilles yesterday, man. Awful. Wish him the best, man. That I think ultimately that could end up hurting them That's a tough replacement in my mind.
They could go 3-1 their last 4. They're at Pittsburgh. That's going to be a tough one.
Right.
Then they're at Cleveland, home to the Colts, and home to Cincinnati. So they can end up 10-6 in this thing.
They've got 3 shutouts on the year. They've got 3 shutouts on the
defensively
year.
they can get after you.
Now, they haven't actually gone through the greatest of quarterbacks.
No, they
They've
have
beaten
not.
Tom Savage, Brett Hundley, Matt Moore, E.J. Manuel, Deshaun Kaiser, Andy Dalton, and Matthew Stafford.
You don't bring that up, Trey.
But you know what?
But you're 0-0.
Yeah.
You're 0-0, baby.
You're
As far as the
0-0.
last 4 games, they only have to go Ben Roethlisberger. Then they're going Deshaun Kaiser, Brissett, and Dalton as their last 3 quarterbacks.
How about that? Jacoby Brissett's the best of the group.
Right. He's played really well.
He really
Actually,
has.
He really has.
And he got there like 2 weeks in. I mean,
it's
you
amazing.
can't beat it.
All right, brother. Listen, I'll see you on
Thanks,
primetime a little
Sounds
bit later
great.
on.
I won't.
Yeah, thanks for that. Coming up, Reese Davis and David Pollock in studio to discuss what else the college football playoff. Golic and Wingo rolls on.